From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to You Should Know here on KENW TV. My name is Tim Gutierrez. I'm kind of the guest host this week. Evelyn Ledbetter is the usual host of You Should Know, and we have a huge pleasure and honor of having Jonathan Fuentes here in the studio. Dr. Fuentes, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, Dr. Fuentes is the new president of Clovis Community College, a role he just kind of stepped in the last, I think it's been a couple months or even less than that, correct? Tell me about coming to our part of Eastern New Mexico.
Sure. So moved here July 1st is when I first started in the role as the new president of Clovis Community College. Come from Odessa, that's where I last was, but I'm originally from Pecos, Texas. So West Texas is home. I've been telling people that this is so similar to my part of West Texas, except it's a whole lot greener. I come from the desert of West Texas, so have enjoyed my time here already.
Tell me a little bit about stepping onto the campus of Clovis Community College. What were your impressions of the college, of Clovis, and kind of this general part of Eastern New Mexico?
Sure. So when I came in March for my interview, that was my first experience on the Clovis Community College campus, and was really impressed by how kind people were, by the passion that people had for serving students and serving the community. And it was to the point, because an interview is all day when you're trying to become a president. And I remember at the end of that day just going home and talking to my wife and saying, I really want to live here. This is where I want to raise my family. This is where I want to come and work, because I was just so proud and impressed by how kind people were and how passionate they were about the community.
That's a good jumping off point as far as a little bit about your background. You touched on coming from Odessa College. Talk about your background. You said you came from Pecos, Texas. Initially, that's where you were born and raised. Talk a little bit about that, a little bit about your time in Odessa, and then a little bit about your educational background.
Sure. So born and raised in Pecos, Texas. My family has been there for a very long time. My grandparents and great-grandparents all lived there. Proud of the education that I received there. And then when I graduated from high school, went off to college. So went out of state for college and grad school. So went to Harvard for my bachelor degree, and that's in government. And then came back to Texas at that point and did a little work in education, but then ended up going back out of state for grad school. And so went to the University of Michigan for my master's and my PhD, also in political science, and really studied a lot in education policy. And so have spent about 15 years in education and another 5 years at state and local government, really working in kind of policy, but mostly education and education policy, 20 years doing that. I last served as the Vice President of Academic Partnerships at Odessa College, and so that was for the last 5.5 years, but had spent some time there before, even as Executive Director of the Extension areas. But as Vice President, I actually was responsible for the recruitment and outreach of the college, for dual credit, for advising, and also for the Extension area. So everything that was outside of Odessa College, the very rural parts of our service area.
So how did your what you did in your job over at Odessa College and other places, how did it prepare you for becoming a president at a community college like CCC?
Well, very proud of the work that Odessa College is doing, and was so happy to be a part of it. It's a high-performing community college, has won national awards and has received quite a bit of national recognition for the work that's been done on the enrollment side, for the work that's been done on the instructional side. We get students to come to Odessa College, and then we were getting students to be successful there too. So our graduation rates were through the roof, and so really proud of the work. And so when I came to interview here, I really reached out to Dr. Williams, who's the president at Odessa College, and really thanked him, because it was great training. I feel like I was able, as a vice president, to get to see firsthand how to lead a college and how to, I guess, best practices for community colleges. And I think that's already proven very helpful in the month and a few days that I've been, on the job. But really, I think come in with a great mindset of innovation and growth and wanting to see community colleges prosper.
As you make your move from Odessa to Clovis, talk a little bit about your family that you're very proud of, and they also have to make that move and make that transition to Clovis.
Well, grateful for a very supportive family. You know, my wife has joined me here. My wife is in her 18th year of education, and so she's actually starting her first year as an assistant principal at Clovis High School. And she has spent 8 years in the classroom and then another 9 years as a high school counselor. So kind of has seen different sides of education. So really proud of her and just very grateful that she made this move with me. And she's really my partner in education. You know, we get to go home and talk about our passion and how much we care about students. My kids are younger, at 6 years old and 4 years old. And so Micah's about to start first grade and Mia's about to start pre-kindergarten. And so luckily they're so young that they're willing to just go on an adventure with mom and dad. But so grateful to have my entire family here. And of course, I have a very supportive, village, with my in-laws who are wonderful, my mom who is here willing to help us take care of these kids, get us through the summer for sure. And so it takes the whole village to raise the entire family.
So talk a little bit. I was reading that your family is into the outdoors and enjoy parks. Of course, the kids are pretty young, so the kids that age like parks. Talk a little bit about that. What you do on your off time when
Sure.
you're not working.
Sure. Even when we're in the Midland, Odessa area, we went around exploring every single part. So we'd go across Midland and Odessa and really get to know the parks and the water parks and the splash pads. And we've done the same thing here, in Clovis, and has spent time here in Portales too, just going to the different parks. So, we've been to Hillcrest and we've been to Potter and we've been to Dennis Chavez over in Clovis. And so we just go around and try to expose our kids to the next part. But I think more than that, especially as my kids get older, I think the goal is to really get into the outdoors, explore national parks. And of course, there's so much beauty here in New Mexico. Coming from the Permian Basin, we knew about Ruidoso and would go there, and so many families that we knew would come and vacation there. But I know there are other beautiful parts of the state, and we look forward to exploring that here in New Mexico.
Definitely Carlsbad. You've probably been to Carlsbad and
Yes.
Ruidoso and so many other parts. Las Vegas, my hometown up in northern New Mexico. So many beautiful areas of New Mexico
Great.
to explore. So you have a lot ahead of you when it comes to exploration.
Agreed.
Let's talk a little bit about, when you're going through a job interview, one of the questions usually is, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Let's not talk about your strengths and weaknesses if you have any, but let's talk about CCC strengths and weaknesses as you move forward, as you kind of visualize where you want Clovis Community College to be.
Sure. So I think one of the strengths is the people that are there. So I sat down, I think it was in my second week, and really met with groups in small groups, so 20 to 30 employees at a time. So the ones that were around for the summer. And we really talked about who they are and like what they wanted for the college. And what really came out was the passion that they shared for students, that they shared for the community college, that they shared for the community. And so it's so easy to build on that strength and go in a lot of different directions when you can feel that they care about students. And so that is definitely one of the biggest strengths. And so I think that's what we plan to capitalize on. Now, what I've always known, and when I look at statistics, I also feel like we're not doing enough in education, just higher education in general,
Mhm.
K-12 education in general, across the United States. So it's good to say like we care deeply about education, but we also have to acknowledge that we're still not doing enough. And so that part is where we all have opportunities to grow. And so, some of the things that we've been thinking about are, how do you expand programs? How do you bring more students in? Because if you look at the bachelor degree attainment rate in this part of New Mexico and my part of West Texas, we're still not at the national level. So there's a lot of work for us to do in order to get the educational attainments levels up.
Okay. So talking a little bit about that, we kind of lack when it comes to secondary education. Is that what you're saying? As far as the numbers and people actually getting their degree, be it an associate or being a bachelor's or even master's or
Right,
doctorate?
right. So if you look at the bachelor degree attainment level, and I just looked at the statistics a few days ago, I think it's 34%, that is where the United States is. But if you look at a place like Clovis, it's 21%. In my hometown, that number is similar but a little lower. And so it's we need to do more so that we get our students in. We'd like to see them get the associate degrees and get certifications to go to work. But for many of our students, if they want their full career, it also means transferring over to the bachelor degree level too.
Delve into a little bit of what CCC is. You've obviously looked at the numbers. You're new there, obviously, but what's the typical student at Clovis Community College? Is it a high schooler that just wants to get a quick associate's? Is it a person going back to school? What's the average typical student at CCC?
Well, we have them all. And that's the beauty of a community college is that we are a college for the entire community. So we have something to do for everyone, whether it's personal enrichment, whether it's a career, whether it's dual credit. And so, when you think about traditional student, community colleges tend to be on the older side if you just look at the average, but that average is being pulled down because you have a lot of dual credit, and community colleges are typically where you see a lot of your dual credit students. So we have the dual credit student, we have the traditional student who will come in as a first time in college student, but then we also have our returning students who may be a little more non-traditional, who may be a little older and are looking to upskill or reskill or coming to look for a career for the first time. So we kind of, at the community college, serve everyone. And then you also pick up, a retired population who is looking for personal enrichment. We have many of those students on the campus too.
Clovis, Portales, this area of eastern New Mexico, very proud to have one of the best Air Force bases in the entire country at Cannon Air Force Base. How does that work into the college? What do you offer programs for airmen to go to CCC? Have you kind of looked into that a little bit?
We do, and of course, we'd love to strengthen that partnership because they're so important to this community. They're so important to us. And if you look at Clovis Community College, if you look who's working there, we have many military spouses that are working there. We have many active duty military personnel who are coming to classes at Clovis Community College. We also have their spouses and their children also coming to class. And so extremely important. We want to strengthen that relationship. We want to see more of them on our college campus. And we certainly do outreach. We go to the campus and we have courses that we offer there on the campus too.
What are the big things and the difference between Texas and New Mexico is the New Mexico legislature several years ago decided, you know what, if you're graduating from a New Mexico high school and you want to go to college, a university, or a vocational school, or whatever it might be, we're going to pay for that. So that has to be a big advantage, not only for the students, but also for a college that's trying to get their enrollment numbers up, correct?
You're right. So opportunity and lottery scholarships are really important to the work that we're doing there. And really, it's taking away one of the biggest barriers that people see to coming to college. And so we're glad that we have that help to get rid of that financial barrier. And then we're thinking about the other ways. I think something that really changed or COVID really did a number, and really exacerbated some of the challenges that community colleges were already experiencing. There were some declines really happening nationwide before COVID, but then COVID exacerbated the problem. And so I've spent a lot of time thinking about why are students not coming back in the ways that we really want them to. Fortunately, things are looking up, but we still have some work to do to bring everybody back. But really, I think some of the challenges. So we've solved the financial barrier, but truly people have to go to work. I mean, you have inflation, you have other things. And so we're thinking about how do we give students the career and tie them to their career earlier, because I think that's why people come to the community college and that's why people stay at the community college is because they can see I'm going from where I am to the career that I want.
Is that really the focus of a lot of community colleges, including CCC, is to get them in that career path? For instance, you might have 10,000 jobs as for teachers, but maybe not so many jobs in other areas, and technology obviously and that kind of stuff. There's so many jobs right now.
Right.
Is that kind of the focus of a lot of community colleges around the country and certainly in Clovis?
I definitely think so. And there's actually a bigger push to move more in that direction on the community college side. So you have the Aspen Institute, who's actually leading a group of colleges, and Odessa College was one of those groups where it's trying to push us to think about the community college in its next evolution, which is all about career. It's about connecting students to career. And so that's already my mindset coming in. And I think community colleges do that well, but we still got to get better. We still got to get people to understand why you come to the community college, and it's because we are tied to industry. We're offering the credentials that are going to put you to work right away, and that we know the jobs are waiting for you once you're done with us.
That's a good jumping off point to careers in vocations, vocational education. I think that's one of the areas you'd like to see expand at CCC. Talk a little bit about that and why a vocational education can be a huge plus for students.
Well, I say that community college is for everyone, and that vocational, career and technical education is a part of that. That we offer the training, we offer the certifications, we offer the education that will tie you to those vocational jobs. And so, yes, I think that's one of our big areas that we want to grow in. We want to grow in the continuing education and the career and technical pathways, because that really is what industry is calling for. Our economy has become very service sector oriented. And so if you have the certifications in those areas, the work is plentiful. And we want you to be an entrepreneur. We want you to start your own job as a plumbing expert, as electrical, as construction, as HVAC. We need to offer all of those programs because that is what an industry needs right now.
We actually have a couple of job openings right now here at KENW, and we're looking at candidates and so forth. And a lot of those candidates I'm seeing as I look at their resumes, started at Clovis Community College, made the transition to Eastern New Mexico University. And you were telling me that you met with the president of ENMU, Dr. Johnston, recently, and you guys had a conversation. Can you tell me a little bit about that, how that went?
Sure. First of all, he's wonderful. He is so kind and so grateful that I was able to meet with him. And we look forward to the work that we're going to do together. Nothing gets done in a vacuum. It's all done through partnership. And transfer rate is probably one of the most critical pieces to a community college, but also to a four-year university. So there are win-win situations, scenarios that we can create in there, because we want our students who have chosen social work or teaching, clearly they're not done at the associate degree. They've come to us, we've given them an affordable education, we've given them, small class sizes. There are lots of benefits to coming to us, but then we need them moving on to the bachelor degree. We need them moving on to the master's degree. And it's because that's what it's going to take for them to really enter the career in certain fields. So the transfer rate, we have to work on getting that transfer rate up. And of course, it will also benefit ENMU if we're able to move that percentage. So the more that we can do in partnership, the better off we are. And of course, students win.
I always thought it was so cool that the community college system kind of worked hand in hand with a four-year university, and kind of that transition is made easy, or as easy as possible, in a lot of places, including CCC to ENMU, correct?
That's correct. I mean, you really have to have that four-year transfer partner. And even in that work that, the Aspen Institute is leading, so it's all about career, but it's all about that transfer because it's eventually going to lead to the career. So if we're going to tie students to that career, we have to have a very tight-knit partnership with ENMU, because only when we work together will we see students really reach that ultimate career goal.
I know the board of trustees looked at a couple of things, and they liked what you had to say about involvement in public schools, your vision and part of the mission, and also recruitment of students. We talked about that. Vocational programs, we touched on that. Talk about the involvement in public schools. That's one thing we haven't touched on.
Sure. So even at Odessa College, we were responsible for recruitment and outreach within academic partnerships. And we really believe that if we're going to solve some of the educational attainment rates, the issues that we have with those numbers, It has to start young. We have to work on a college going culture at a very young age. And so that's why at Odessa College, we spent a lot of time in elementary schools and in middle schools really teaching students about dual credit, teaching them about what do you do after high school. We needed them to feel that college was for them, that they felt comfortable coming to us. And so those are the things that are really important to me here. We got to work on that college going culture, and it has to happen at a very young age. And so you're going to see us in the elementary schools and in the middle schools having those conversations because we need them to feel comfortable coming to us when they're ready. And it's just so important to solving kind of our attainment rate goals.
So it's kind of going into, for instance, high schools, or do you start even earlier, middle schools, or what is your goal there?
So we started really early at Odessa College. I plan to see the same thing here, here in this area too. We need to be going into elementary schools. They need to know who we are. They need to know that we're here when they're ready to pursue the next level. And that's whether they're coming through in dual credit or graduating. It has to happen at an early age. And I'll tell you that we would basically take over elementary schools and go in and really do all of the instruction for the day so that they understood, well, what does it mean to go into automation? Well, they were there playing with the robot. So doing really hands-on things so that they'd understand why you come to the community college and the skills that come out with them once they graduate.
So even for the younger students, you're kind of placing that little light bulb of the possibility of higher education, even if it's going to be 10 years down the road or whatever it might be. So that's kind of the whole idea there, correct?
That's the whole idea. And again, it's also interesting. You'll watch, and we'll offer programs at the community college that sometimes students don't understand, but sometimes these are in industries that are really lucrative, where they can have a great career. But if students don't understand what those are, they're not going to choose it. And so that's why it's important for us to also educate them on the things they can get from Clovis Community College, from Odessa College, from any community college.
Both Texas and New Mexico have large populations of Hispanic, Latinos, Mexican Americans.
Mhm.
Certainly, our part of New Mexico, Roswell, about 62% Hispanic, Hobbs, maybe 64%, and certainly to a lesser degree, Portales and Clovis. And a lot of times, kids growing up don't see some of those people in high positions and leadership roles, like the president of Clovis Community College. Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, really, really happy if I could serve as a role model in this community. And very proud of my background and my heritage, and also know that the struggles that many of my family members went to get me to this point. Seeing my family work in the cotton fields or hear about them working in the cotton fields, really, really makes me proud of how far we've come as a family, and that I want others to also be able to have that success, because we know some of the challenges that it's taken our families to get here. So happy to have those conversations. And of course, we're a Hispanic serving institution at Clovis Community College, and we're constantly thinking about how do we serve all our students, how do we serve Latinos, that are on our campus, and how do we help them become successful.
And it's kind of unfortunate that our part of New Mexico, there's a lot of poverty. So we talked a little bit about the scholarships that students can automatically get, but also those underserved populations like Hispanic populations.
Yeah. What I think Clovis Community College has done really well is that we're taking a very holistic approach to education. We're thinking about the scholarships that they might need, but we have other services that are available. We have counseling services. We have a food pantry. We run a garden. We want to make sure that students don't have to leave us because their basic needs are not being met. And then we're constantly thinking about how do we connect them to career. We know they have to work, so many of them, while they're with us. And so we're thinking about how do we put people to work while they're with us, and we're going to finish them off. We're going to work with the industry to make sure that they complete the certifications they need.
Good plug there for Clovis Community College. Let's talk about registration and so forth, which is happening and goes on throughout the year. And really because it's a shorter period of time that you're in community college, 8 weeks as opposed to 14 or 16 weeks. Talk a little bit about your registration, your late registration, and someone being able to register at any time.
Sure. So we actually start on August 19th and we register through that first week. We invite anybody to come. We have some extended hours. We're going to be working till 7 p.m., a couple of nights. But even if you were to miss, say, that August 19th deadline, we actually have fall 2 courses. And so you can actually begin the semester in October. And so we're trying to give as many ramps up to education as possible so that students can be successful and find their way to Clovis Community College when they're ready.
Plenty of times to register for community college over at CCC, and you can always do it year round, basically, because of the way the courses start individually. As we kind of wrap up here, let's talk a little bit about you giving a sales pitch for CCC. You've only been here roughly a month. You were telling us July,
Right.
Correct?
Right.
If you had to go out into the community, and you've already done that, what's your sales pitch for CCC?
So the reason you want to come to Clovis Community College is that there's quite a bit of flexibility there. The courses are going to be offered in the modality, the ways that you want it to be. Extremely affordable. The tuition rates are among the best in the state and region. And so that's definitely a good pitch. Small class sizes. We have people who are passionate about teaching. And so you get a lot of good instruction and training. And of course, we're constantly thinking about the programs that are important to industry. So you come to us because you want that career, and we have the ways to help you get there.
Working our way all the way back to where we started, the people of Eastern New Mexico, and certainly you talked about them over at Clovis Community College. Talk about the people. I mean, it's the people here, and I've always known this, they're very welcoming, they're very friendly, and so forth.
People have been so kind, and so I was so impressed because what I saw in the interview is what I've experienced out in the community. People are kind and care about each other, are passionate about their community, and it's always funny to see all of the people who have just decided to settle here. Even people who came here with Cannon Air Force Base who decided this is a great place to live. This is a great place to raise a family. And so you can feel that passion that people have for Eastern New Mexico. I love it.
Well, Dr. Fuentes, thank you so much for the time went by quickly, and we could have certainly expanded on many of the things we talked about. Thank you so much. Welcome to Eastern New Mexico and also to Clovis, and we look for big things happening over at Clovis Community College.
Thank you so much for having me.
That does it for You Should Know on this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate it, and get ready for another You Should Know, as always, here on KENW TV. Make it a good one.